Okay, so we've talked about why firms would want to collude. We said that it's likely to allow them to increase profits either by driving up revenue, reducing costs. So how stable is collusion? Or if we talk about particularly formal collusion, cartels, what is it that makes agreements between firms, illegal ones, more likely to hold together or more likely to fall apart? So one obvious factor is simply the number of players. So the number of firms. The fewer the number of firms, the more likely it is that a cartel is going to be stable. So, and the reason is that obviously, firstly, it's easier to monitor what your competitors are doing. It's easier to see whether or not they're breaking the agreement, because if there's only two firms and somebody's cheating, you know who it is. And secondly, there's just fewer firms to break the agreement. So generally speaking, it's easier to hold this type of so there's fewer firms to break the agreement. It's easier to hold a collusive agreement or a cartel together if there's a small number of firms. They understand one another, they can monitor one another, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so that's always the way that I would start with this type of thing. Secondly, you can try and apply game theoretical approaches. Yeah, so, and this includes the role of the regulator. So we said, if you look at game theory, we said we've got player A who can go high or low in terms of price, player B who can go high or low. If you look at the kind of some of the theory that's written about this, sometimes these the things in these boxes, the payoffs are given kind of acronyms, letters, names, so on. Yeah, so that is generally known as R. The reward for cooperation. If player A goes low, then they get they get to benefit. There is a temptation. Whereas the other player comes out very badly in this, and they get what's called the sucker payment. R is reward. T is the temptation to stab. S is the sucker payment for being stabbed. And then that's the other way around. And P down here is the punishment for starting a price war. Both players lose. So what's going to make a cartel more stable? Well, you can look at it in terms of the values of these these letters. So suppose that if R is very large, the reward for keeping prices high, then that will tend to lead to stability. And likewise, if P is very low, in other words, the consequences of cheating on the agreement and starting a price war, if they're very serious, that's going to lead to stability. Now, if I'm a regulator, there's not much I can do about those things. However, I can mess about with this. The temptation to cheat. Obviously, if demand is very price elastic, so if T is large, then that also, if T is large, that leads to instability, because it creates an incentive to stab. So if you think about the regulators, though, what they've been doing in recent years is they've been kind of using their own approach to game theory, and they've been saying, well, what can I do to mess with these payments? And you look at the European Commission, and two trends have appeared over the years. One is that fines have been increasing. You keep getting these stories about record fines, and so on. So and secondly, even more cleverly, what they've done, is they've given kind of an amnesty to firms that inform. So if you're the one who blows the whistle and says, we're part of a cartel, we're part of a collusive agreement, actually, you get no fine at all. If you're the first one to go, and kind of go, sir, they're cheating, they're cheating, they're cheating, yeah, then the regulator kind of says, great, tell us everything you know, and you have no fine. Everybody else, yeah, gets a record fines. And what that's suddenly doing is it's increasing, or rather decreasing. It's making the consequences, yeah, of being the sucker, yeah, much worse, yeah, and it's creating a temptation, yeah, to do the stabbing, yeah, to make sure that you don't get fined and so on and so forth. So therefore, the actions of the regulator, yeah, can be put in as a kind of sub part of this game theory, or you can just, you don't like game theory, just treat it. I mean, you don't have to do this, yeah, in this way at all. Yeah, you can say what makes, separately from game theory, what makes an agreement unstable, for example, is if demand is very price elastic, there's a big temptation, yeah, to suddenly cut price, yeah, and break the agreement. Or, yeah, if the regulator, yeah, operates in particular ways, that can create an incentive not to be stabbed in the back, create an incentive to stab others in the back. Other things, yeah, that are going to lead to stability or instability, or instability. Other things include, yeah, things like transparency. How obvious is it? How obvious is it what other players are doing? So if you take a cartel that's been very, very stable over the years, OPEC, yeah, so the oil producers, that stayed for a very long time. They all sell the same product, basically. So it's easy for them to understand what one another's objectives are. It's easy for them to see the impact of what their collusion is doing on the price of oil, and they all basically kind of want, you know, they can see they can see that if the price of oil goes up, then that's going to be a good thing. And because it's oil, it's fairly easy to monitor, especially these days, what the outputs, yeah, of other countries are. I mean, it's not totally trivial, but in a modern world of satellite technology, the ability to look at tankers moving, from ports and so on and so forth. So therefore, it's easy to catch somebody that's cheating, and if it's easy to be caught, then you don't want to cheat. So how, are we selling the same product? Is it easy to monitor what other players are doing? A fourth one that's often considered important is experience with cartels. Have we done it before? Yeah. Do we? So having experience means you know how to communicate. So you're much less likely to get caught. Yeah. So you can engage in more cunning measures and so on and so forth. Yeah. And if somebody's been doing it before, then I'm more likely to trust you because I know you're not going to be a dummy. Hopefully. Yeah. So generally speaking, if we've done it before, that also makes a difference. But also, the kind of the objectives of the different players. Yeah, are they the same or not? If they are, if objectives of firms are similar, then that's going to lead to stability. But if for example, if one firm, has say a short-term focus, they need to make profits now. Then at that stage, they're more likely to break the agreement and stab. And that's often the problem with OPEC, which is that kind of one country gets itself into financial difficulties, it needs to make more money, so it starts breaking its production quota. That's the way in which OPEC tends to work, is they set kind of production targets. One economy gets into financial difficulties and has a big incentive to increase output, which breaks the agreement. So those are the sorts of things that can make a cartel kind of more or less stable. You don't have to use game theory to talk about it, but you might find that it's helpful. The key thing I'd go with is kind of the number of players. I think that's quite interesting, and the actions of regulators. I think that's quite interesting.